book launch at this 9th edition of the Goa Arts and Literature Festival. Over the years, over the past few years, we've had the privilege really of launching some of the most interesting books from around India and the world, and also definitely from Goa again and again. And this is what I'm particularly excited about. And thank you to the translator, David Smith, D.A. Smith, for coming all the way from America to do it. Thank you, Dave. Also, thank you for taking on this important work about Goan history and Goan culture. Dave is an American translator and writer based in Houston, Texas, and he has translated previously the Luso-Goan author Orlando da Costa's novel Lucinia the Hida. There are many other things about him you will find out in the course of this event. His book that he's done this time is about a remarkable Goan figure. We started paying attention to her, I started paying attention to her maybe a decade ago when a photograph came out on the internet, and it's a completely dazzling photograph of this very striking young woman dressed in a miniskirt, and she's leaning against a car. I think there were a couple taken in that series. And it's amazing to learn she was a Goan who contributed mightily to the liberation struggle of Angola. As you may know, there were Goans on both sides of that struggle. There are a number of people here who served in the Portuguese military, the Portuguese anti-government on the side of the Salazarists, and then there were people who served on the other side. So it's an interesting story with Goan elements on both sides. But here was this Goan woman who devoted her life to it and was martyred at the age of 26. An amazing story. But in the English language world, which is what I inhabit, there isn't very much information about her. There wasn't very much information about her. Whatever there was very cryptic. So this is a huge, huge contribution to our knowledge of this remarkable generation of Goans and Indians, but a number of them will happen to be of Goan origin, who contributed to the anti-colonial movement in Africa. So Dave, the publisher of the Frederick Noronha, who does not need too much of an introduction here in Goa, but I'd like to give you one anyway. I won't, but I was just talking to Dave about how this woman is kind of our Che Guevara, right? There you see the photograph I'm talking about. Big hand for the photograph. Sita Valles, Sita Valles. For many years, only partly sarcastically, I've been referring to Frederick as the Che Guevara of the boy, and certainly he has led us into new territory. In conversation with them, leading the conversation today is Sushila Sawant Mendes, who also does not need an introduction here, but she's a PhD in history from Goa University, and she's written a wonderful book about Luis de Menezes Braganza, who was a significant figure in our own anti-colonial movement. So, without further ado, Sushila.
Thank you. We begin with the first formality of actually launching the book, lest we forget about that in the course of discussion. So I call upon Dave and the publisher, Frederick. Let's do the honors. Having done that, let me first of all put the context of the book before the audience. It is in two parts. The first part is with regard to the history of Angola, which needs a context to the actual writing. And in brief, I could just briefly speak about the context of Angola to this book, which is so important. We all know that Angola is looked upon as a Portuguese colony, But way back in 1565, you have a Portuguese Hidalgo, Paulo Dias Novaes, who came there in 1560s and took over with 400 troops and 400 Portuguese families. Now the unwritten code in Africa, in the what you call the Rape of Africa, is that when a European sets his tent in one place, then the rest of them don't meddle. So it remained with the Portuguese for long, up to 1975. So in the course of Angola's history, we have the movement for liberation taking a spur after the actual downfall of the Salazarist regime. So it was only after 1974 that there was a kind of a movement to say so. And therefore, it is in this movement, which was backed by the People's Movement for the Liberation of Angola, of which Sita Valles was a very important co-member. And once Angola was liberated, technically on 11th November 76, yes, that's the time when the problem started. And to speak of Goa's history, we also had our own sense of liberation, but none of the freedom fighters, so-called, were people who were targeted in any way. It was a kind of a very relaxed transfer of power, unlike Angola. And this is where Sita, the main protagonist of this book, comes in, and I leave that part, the second part of the story of this book, to Dave to complete the story of Sita.
Thank you, Sushila, and thanks to GALF and the International Center Bureau for having me. Really appreciate it. It's quite an honor. So, instead of giving you a sort of capsule biography of Sita Valles, I'll just begin by sort of reading the first chapter of Leonor's book, which gives a sort of really good picture of the drama of her life, especially the end of it, and gives a good idea of what she stood for as an Angolan and as a communist. So, it is said that Sita Valles was shot at 5 in the morning on the 1st of August, 1977. One shot in each leg, one shot in each arm. Her body fell into the ditch that had been dug for the purpose before the fatal shot struck her, or what was left of her, after having been tortured and raped by the men of the Directorate of Information and Security of Angola, the political police of the MPLA regime, to track her level of the site. It was also said that the beautiful, elegant, intelligent communist of Goan origin, a Portuguese woman with an African heart, remained rebellious to the final moment. She said that she was not afraid, and that the sooner they killed her, the better. By refusing to be blindfolded, she forced the men of the firing squad to look her in the eye before pulling the trigger. In another version of her death, it is said that after 2 months of captivity, Sita was shot in the vagina after being shot in the head. So, which story is the real one? What really happened may be made up part of each version. What matters is that she was brutally murdered. Those who ordered it and those who carried it out certainly did so in anger and hatred. Sita's shooting must have provided catharsis among certain leaders of the MPLA. It was not a normal shooting, it was a ritual execution. For her way of doing things, for being intellectually brilliant and sectarian as well, it isn't hard to imagine that Sita might have been the target of countless attacks in early Angolan politics, which was predominantly male, dominated by those with guerrilla backgrounds who had been in the bush during the colonial war, and by militants who had been exiled overseas for years. This is José Bandun, the son of an old and prestigious Angolan family stamped from the nationalist mold, died at her side. He was Sita's final partner and the father of Che, the son she gave birth to 3 months before she died. One doubt persists. Was Sita pregnant again when she died? It is not known for certain where her mortal remains are. Indication as to where the execution took place is where. Some talk about a cemetery near the Cuba Brewery in Luanda. Others say she was shot on the road leading to the Buttermilk Ponds. Luanda saw the savage aftermath of the 27th of May, 1977. What happened that day led to the imprisonment, shooting, and disappearance of a still unknown number of Portuguese, but above all, Angolans. The number of victims depends on the source, but many thousands were killed. The narrative of that episode is a complex one. The events put an end to the tale of the beast that took care of men, and made blood flow on petrodollars due to Angola. So many lives were cut down that some witnesses remain mute to this day, when we wish to know more about the Sita Valles of that era. The fear still persists decades later, and it gives one a sense of the density of those episodes. Sita Valles, who retained her last Portuguese identity card in the Luanda registry in 1971, remains, for all intents and purposes, missing. Her body was never returned to her family. She was about to turn 26 when she was executed. So, as you can see, it's a pretty dramatic ending to Sita's life, and her life in general was pretty dramatic. She was born and raised in Angola, the daughter of Goan parents. She had two brothers, Edgar, her younger brother, and Ademar, her older brother, both of whom also were raised in Angola. She went to medical school in Luanda and then moved to Lisbon in 1971 to finish medical school, which she didn't do, not in Lisbon. She got active in the Communist Party, the Portuguese Communist Party, and the Union of Communist Students, which is an underground organization because being the Communist Party in a fascist dictatorship meant that it was legal. She was active in that until the Carnation Revolution of 1974, when the dictatorship was overthrown. She was out of the country at the time. She was in Moscow. And when she returned, she didn't stay long. She left Lisbon in 1975 to go back to Angola against the opposition of the Communist Party. When she resigned from the party, returned to Angola, and joined the MPLA, and was active with them for the next 2 years. She became part of a faction within the MPLA led by a man named Nino Alves, who was more pro-Soviet than President Agostinho Neto. And this faction, among others, was a threat to Neto, and come May of 1970, there was what some called an attempted coup by this faction. The coup failed, but the Agostinho Neto's remained in power, and Sita, along with thousands of other people, disappeared and was presumably murdered.
So thank you for that brief biography. Moving on to Frederick. Frederick, would you consider as a publisher that this writing in history, originally by Leonardo Figueiredo, is it a kind of hagiography, or is it a real portrayal of history? Would you say that you talk and you praise about saints? So is this a one-sided story?
When I read it, I don't feel that it's one-sided at all, because a lot of the facts that come out about Sita's life are not very flattering in that sense. So she's shown as this 26-year-old daughter who goes and tries to hold a revolt against the revolution, a revolution against a revolution, because they are not radical enough. So it's problematic for many sides, and it doesn't fit in with the stereotype of freedom fighter fighting against a colonial ruler. Here you have a freedom fighter fighting against the freedom fighters. And many things in a book are not hagiographical at all. So, for example, they say Sita was very pretty, she made use of her sexuality. She was totally indisciplined in the hierarchy of the Communist Party, so they were tearing their hair out how to deal with her. She broke many hearts, she had a string of boyfriends. So there are a lot of critical things. Politically, personally, even if you read the book, at the end of the book you're left questioning like what is the impact. She paid with a price for her beliefs. Her full family has got devastated. Okay? Not intentionally. One brother was killed only because he was a Valles. The other brother, Edgar, who many of us know, who was the president of Casa de Goa, he had recently married, his wife was in Portugal. She said, I cannot manage Angola. So he goes to Portugal for Christmas, and he survives to tell the story today because of that accident. Mother and father were devastated in that sense. They kept writing and there was no news of what happened to the family, to the body. So it is a problematic story at many levels. Even it shows the story of infighting within the left, and those of us who have a background in activism know what it was like in those days. Cold War at one level, China versus Moscow and all these factions. The Cubans played a role in supporting the Angolan government there. And ironically enough, those of you all who know Portuguese history, okay, Otelo Carvalho, who was one of the leaders of the coup against the Portuguese government in 1974, has part 1 ancestry. So he goes to Cuba and, among other things, and seeks help from the Cubans in Portugal. But the connections are very cross, so I don't think it's hagiographical at all. But the story is extremely well told. As a journalist myself, former journalist, whatever, I'm impressed by the way this lady has got all her sources and put it across, whether it fits the wider perspective or whether it fits the party line or not. Sorry.
Yes. Dave, would you, two questions to you. One, what was the inner urge in you to write a translation of such a book? I know you have translated a number of Portuguese to English, but far away in America, what was your inner voice to do it, so to say? And secondly, would you consider the killing of Sita a purge that took place in any communist country?
So, my sort of rationale for translating this was Frederick suggested, he mentioned this book to me, I guess early last year, and it sounded interesting, just the story in and of itself. So I got a copy and I read it, and it was very interesting. Angola in general is pretty misunderstood or not known at all in the English-speaking world. These days, all you hear about is oil money. I didn't know a whole lot about it when I began this project, so it was an opportunity for me to learn a lot and to get this story out. Not simply Sita's story, although she obviously makes a fantastic protagonist, but as a way to give something from the Portuguese-speaking world out to the English-speaking world. It's a sort of under-translated language, despite being spoken by hundreds of millions of people. So this is just one little drop in the bucket of Portuguese writing. But I thought it was the sort of story that would give English-speaking readers a better idea of what goes on in the Portuguese-speaking world, or what went on, given this is the past, and hopefully give people a window into a place like Angola as well. As for the communist purge question, while the MPLA as a party was not technically communist, at least at this point, I'm hesitant to call it a communist purge. I think what it was, so the theories about the events of 27 May 1977, the attempted coup, there's a number of theories. I don't have any definitive answers, but based on what I've read and everything, it feels to me that it was definitely a sort of power struggle, and the presidential faction certainly took advantage of whatever did happen to, purge is probably a good word for that. It was a settling of scores. So it was beyond political, because the vast number of people who were involved, who suffered from it, had no political ties whatsoever. And so I don't think it was just an inter-party purge. It might have started as something like that, and then mushroomed into something far worse.
I would just go to another point with regard to gender politics. When we speak about the women's role in the writing of history, in historiography, it's a much ignored role. And whether you look at the Angola history, the history of Angola, you don't find any women in the struggle as much as the men. So would you say that this particular story puts on the stage the role of a lone woman who struggled? Frederick?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the stories are always there. Okay, some particular fields are male dominated, like politics, because it's so testosterone driven. I would presume that it's male dominated. But these are the ignored stories, and they are coming out. The author is a Portuguese lady journalist who is maybe in early 60s or whatever. I think there is a lot of scope for this. We don't know our own history. We had to depend on Dave, who is a Texan incidentally, who's learned Portuguese at the Brazilian Center in Texas, and he's so fluent at it that not like us guys who have to use Google Translate to see what's going on, like how do we understand this page. He can actually speak with any of you all, you can test him out. And I think this is a good excuse for us to use examples like Dave as a reason to understand our own history. People like Sita Valles have done a lot of publishing because they have the advantage of knowing the language that I don't. But whether it is women or whether it is language, we can work out these steps.
One more question. Sita was a child of the revolution, and she became a victim of the same revolution that she fought for. What were the circumstances that made this happen, Dave?
So those circumstances are many and varied. Like I said, there was a number of factions within the MPLA. And mind you, the MPLA is the sort of Angolan movement that was the one that declared independence. All this time, there were two other sizable organizations also vying for control of Angola. The MPLA was the leftmost of the organizations. You had two others, one in the south, UNITA, which was backed by South Africa, and then you had the FNLA up north, which had Chinese backing, possibly CIA backing. Anyway, so there's the political situation was very convoluted at the time. So, and the MPLA was already sort of thinning out its ranks in terms of those factions that opposed, for whatever reason, they ended up being particularly radical, posed a threat to Augustine Mendes' power, were either eliminated or driven out of the country. By the time Sita arrived, most of that was done. Most of the sort of radical left was out of the picture, and Sita, being very pro-Soviet, was in the faction that was sort of left standing, and they paid the price for it because they did not have the popular support they believed they did.
So the two factions, one supported by the Soviet Union and the other by the USA, were the people of Angola, especially those, a person like Sita with so much of intellectual, which is often spoken about, her intellectual ability to understand what others take half an hour to understand in 5 minutes, that's what the book says. Is it that she was so naive to not understand that Angola was a victim or a puppet in the hands of the superpowers?
So, she was naive to some degree, I think. I think it was naive in that she did not fully understand when she came back, when she returned to Angola from Portugal. She probably did not have a firm grasp of the situation on the ground. Not so much the proxy war scale, because I think she was very aware that the other independence movements in the country, such as UNITA and the FNLA, had backing from the West. But what I think she was naive about was just how things were operating within the MPLA itself, which had it had a long schism between exiles who were living in places like Dar es Salaam or up in Algeria or wherever, a number of places, and then those who were actually fighting the Portuguese in the bush. So that sort of dynamic, I think she was probably terribly unaware of and was not ready for.
Frederick, when in historiography, when certain events are wiped from the face of the earth, this was one such event in Angola, where besides Sita, there were a lot of other people who were holding high governmental positions in the new liberated dispensation. And yet on 27th May 1977, they were just wiped off. And it is said that history forgot them. Nobody wrote about them, nobody discuss them. Their orphans were not even, it was spoken in hushed tones about the parents. Is your book trying to fill the space of this empty space in history?
Really, it's a bit easy to fit into this space because there's the internet, there are hundreds of channels of communication, but we tend to forget that in those days there was one radio station, one newspaper, so if the government put a block on it, there was no way the information could get out. I really like the way the journalist pieced together the story. So while some people were asking us, is it dramatized? Has she understood everything? I'm not into that. I'm more concerned about how she managed to piece together what she did. Because there are a lot of unanswered questions in the book itself. But she has managed to piece together quite a bit.
You said you wanted to be given a 2-minute time to kind of...
No, that's fine. I made all my points, but you can put...
Okay, fine. So, having said that, the civil war in Angola took more than 2 decades to theoretically come to an end. We don't know whether it's really ended today. But in these 2 decades, why was Sita not spoken about?
Sita personally was not spoken about because she was considered one of the masterminds of this attempted coup. I think the last sort of public mention of her in Angola would have been when she was captured a month after May 27. But Sita, on a bigger scale, she represents those who, the attempted coup and those who plotted it, and all of the victims. The PLA's sort of official line was that it happened and it wasn't really a big deal, so there was really nothing to cover up. So for basically until the last 10 or so years, it's been.
In fact, the President Agostino had said that let's not have the trial, I'll just pass the sentence.
Right.
So it was so much of an authoritarian rule within trying to be a kind of leftist and democratic proceedings in Parliament. I think now that you audience, and thank you for your interesting questions.
Yeah, thanks, y'all.
Thank you very much.